We are talking about the Russo Brothers and the fact that they aren't coming back to Marvel till at least 2030. And this is bad news because the current slate of creatives dealing with Marvel properties is slowly, via attrition, failing and falling to the depths of absurdity and nonsense. And I'll tell you what, Marvel lost James Gunn. He's now heading up DC. The Russo Brothers certainly aren't coming back for at least 10 years. And Joss Whedon was canceled. So he's not coming back. So what do you got? You got creatives that have very little, if no experience, or experience on TV shows whose primary vision is not telling a proper comic book story, but preaching some kind of social justice. So this is not good news. Shane, what do you think?
Well said. So Joe and Anthony Russo, of course, the directors behind Captain America, The Winter Soldier, and Civil War, as well as both Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, aren't planning to return anytime soon to Marvel. And I think this is kind of interesting. The fact that they say that at least 2030, I wonder if in their mind that's like, well, that's by the time they'll have it together again and they will have started a new plan to where they can come in and wrap it up and be superstars again at the end of it.
Oh, interesting. Like they
did with Endgame.
Oh man, it's like okay. So right now they're setting up like the young Avengers,
right?
And they're setting up like this whole the Marvels thing. What we need to do is we need to completely avoid them until they're done with this nonsense version of their story, and when they get back to the actual characters that matter, we'll be there.
Or once they've created like a story arc that leads to some big dramatic a finish that 1 billion people are going to go see.
Right.
And that's when we'll be there to do it.
That's interesting.
Because they're very talented.
We cannot save the current version. We need the current version to die out a little bit so that they revert back to their original form, and then we'll take over.
Right. And so they don't go into exactly why that they're not going to do it. They did say they want to put some distance between themselves and Endgame, that's funny. What's the distance between yourselves and Endgame? Because and then they just don't say anything else because what they say next will literally be because what they're making right now is not that great.
Right. We want to put some distance between ourselves and Endgame because everything made after Endgame is garbage.
So apparently to the point where they said just the year thing is so specific. They have no plans to return until 2030 at the earliest. It says here, we're always talking, we need to see what would work. See if it lines up with what we're saying, right?
What if they know about actor contracts that run out at 2030?
I mean, maybe they go on to say here, we won't be ready to do anything with Marvel until the end of the decade. So in the time since Endgame, the Russo brothers have worked as directors, writers, and producers on other films, from directing Gray Man on Netflix, which I enjoyed that movie. It wasn't Endgame worthy, but it was a good movie. To producing Everything Everywhere All at Once, which I do think was one of the best movies of the year. And I'm not surprised at all that they directed that movie.
Yeah, of course.
Right now, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is working its way up to the next Avengers films, The Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, set to premiere in theaters May 2nd, 2025 and May 1st, 2026, after Disney pushed several MCU projects last month. So it's just interesting that they're waiting to see. I think they're just waiting. I mean, they said it here. We won't be ready to do anything with Marvel until the decade ends because we need to see what would work. Because right now nothing's working that would make them commit to it.
Because right now nothing's working. Because you know what? Because I just finished She-Hulk last night, and no.
It was 4.5 minutes long, but it was.
I finished She-Hulk while we were in the middle of this interview. Now I've decided that I'm going to push it to 2035.
Right.
Yeah, I love this. The former director, Destin Daniel Cretton, who previously directed Shang-Chi, is the one that's going to be directing The Secret Wars. And I know people like Shang-Chi, but I got to tell you guys, it was so formulaic and just sort of predictable that it wasn't worthy of a Marvel movie. It was a Marvel movie in name only. It didn't have any good humor. The humor
It
was
was
forced.
popcorn worthy, I thought.
Huh?
I thought it was popcorn worthy.
It was popcorn worthy, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't Marvel worthy. The humor was meh, forced, sort of dad joke ish, and it was very formulaic. It didn't. I didn't fall in love with the characters. I had a good time with the fun graphics and fights, and that was about it, man. It wasn't worthy of a Marvel movie, and the follow up to that, Eternals, on its own doesn't work. Now, when you combine it with the other movies, you're like, oh man, it was epic. But only because it adds so much, in my opinion, to other Marvel movies. So
I think it finishes the Infinity War story.
right, yeah, it does in a roundabout way that you had to explain to me that made me like it. But before you explained that to me, I was like, this movie sucked, bro. Remember, I was like, this movie sucked. Like, it was boring. There wasn't enough Angelina Jolie. They got rid of Sammy Hayek. Sammy Hayek, Angelina Jolie, just like instantly gone. The main character was an actor and a character we had never seen before or cared about. No, I didn't like it at all. And then Shane was like, yeah, but listen, check us out. And he explained like the whole Eternals thing and Thanos. I'm like, oh, snaps, you're right. That was actually a really good movie.
Yeah, I've after Endgame.
Yes, I've never flipped so quickly on a movie. Because it did. It made Endgame a better movie, which is hard to do. But overall, though, they need a better direction. Like, they are so scattered right now. When they made that joke about, like, the Kevin bot, and She-Hulk, it sort of feels like there's a Kevin bot right now. Like, it's nothing like Kevin Feige. It feels like there's a Kevin bot. And the one good thing about She-Hulk was that last episode where they criticized themselves. It was very accurate. It was very accurate. And that's what's happening right now with Marvel. It's just sort of formulaic and boring, and a lot of people are pushing like an agenda or their own career, and they're not actually focused on the whole story.
Yeah, it's like Kevin's driving a bus around town, and like all these people are already like on board, and he's like, well, what else can we make to get everybody else on board the bus?
Right.
And it's like, so they're picking projects that are reaching groups and that maybe weren't comic book fans, so to speak,
right,
to try to get them on board, because it's all about how many eyes can you get streaming, watching the streaming service. So,
and while he's doing that, though, I don't think he realizes that the original people that were on board are slowly getting off.
Right. So yeah, he doesn't see people are like jumping out the emergency exit. Out the
Right. Yeah.
They've kicked out the window, and there's people are screaming and let me off.
He doesn't see the nerd with the Captain America shield shirt that forced open one of the windows and was crawling out of a moving bus. Right.
Right.
And putting on a Superman shirt. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the problem right now. So, we do need that in Marvel. I'm not ready to see Marvel die. I do think that I actually like the character King the Conqueror. I think he's going to add a lot to Quantumania. I think Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be a fun movie. I don't think Guardians of the Galaxy, either the holiday special or the movie coming up, are really connected anymore to the MCU property.
No, they're not.
So really, the most connected thing we're going to get is going to be Quantumania, which should introduce King the Conqueror and everything they're going to be doing with like the Secret Wars and all that nonsense. So hopefully it works, but I don't see it happening.
All right, so like and subscribe, right?
Yeah, hit the like, subscribe button in the comment section. Let us know what you guys think about Marvel and the severe absence, the noticeable absence of the Russo brothers.